Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum and salam sejahtera. In this session, we want to discuss in detail about the direct time study procedure. So let us examine each of the steps in more detail. So for the first procedure, define and document the standard methods. Before defining and documenting the standard method, a methods engineering study should be undertaken to ensure that the standard method obeys the one best method principle. The best method that can be devised under the present economic and technological circumstances. All of the steps in the method should be defined. Any special tools, gauge, or equipment that can improve the task should be designed and included in the method. If there are irregular elements in the work cycle, the frequency with which these elements are to be performed should be stated explicitly and clearly. Once the standard method has been defined, it should be difficult or impossible for the operator to make further improvement. The standard method should be thoroughly documented. The company should have forms and checklists to make certain that all information about the method is included. As example, this is the form that can be used to record all the information in the methods. The documentation should enumerate details about the procedure, tools, equipment, the machine setting used for the uh, methods, workplace layout, irregular work elements, work conditions, and setup. A videotapes of the standard method also can be made as part of the documentation. This is especially helpful for complex tasks in which details of the method are difficult to explain in writing. Second procedure, divide the task into work elements. Why documentation is important? There are several reasons why thorough documentation of the standard method is important. Example, in the batch productions, if the task is associated with batch productions, then it is likely to be replaced at some time in the future. The time lapse may be significant between the previous batch and the next batch. A different worker may be assigned to perform the task on the next batch. The statement of the standard methods provides the worker and the supervisor or engineer with a complete description of the task and the procedure for doing it, as well as any tooling or equipment needed, and this able to avoid reinventing the wheel. Other reason is method improvement by the operator. At some future time, the operator may discover a way to improve the methods. A question then arises, should the method's improvement be incorporated into a new standard method, or should the operator be allowed to benefit from the improvement without formally changing the standard method? If the operator has indeed made a method's improvement, this can be identified by comparing the method in use with the standard method description. Other reason why the description is important, if the operator complains that standard for the task is too tight, or there is some other reason for a dispute about the standard method, documentation of the standard method can be used to settle the dispute. This shows why the documentation is important. And on the data for standard data system, time standard developed by direct time study are sometimes used in a standard data system. Good documentation of the standard data method, especially regarding the work elements and associated normal time, is essential in developing the database for a standard data system. So this is some reason why documentation is important. And here also highlight the uh, guideline when we want to divide the task into smaller work elements. So we can use all these guidelines here, yeah, all this guideline here when we divided the task into smaller work elements. Okay, we move to the next step of procedure. The third procedure, time the work element to obtain the observed time. Yeah. Once the work elements have been defined, the analyst is ready to collect the data. The time data are usually recorded on a time study form. Each element should be timed over several cycles to obtain a reliable average, and the form is designed for recording multiple cycles or multiple observations. And the appropriate number of cycles can be determined using the statistical techniques. There are two principal methods for using a stopwatch in direct time study. First, the snapback method, and the second one is continuous method. In the snapback timing method, the watch is started at the beginning of every work element by snapping it back to 0, or we reset the time to 0 at the end of the previous element. So the reader must therefore note and record the final time for that element just as the watch is being zeroed. While in the continuous timing method, the watch is zeroed at the beginning of the first cycle and allowed to run continuously throughout the duration of the study. The analyst records the running time on the stopwatch at the end of each respective element. So this is two methods that can be used when we record uh, time on each element. Either we can use snapback method or continuous method. We move to the fourth procedure. Evaluate worker space relative to standard performance to obtain the normal time. While observing and recording the time data, the analyst must simultaneously observe the performance of the worker and rate this performance relative to the definition of standard performance used by the company. Other terms for performance include pace, speed, effort, and tempo. Standard performance is given a rating of 100%, but performance rating greater than 100% means that the worker performance is better than standard, and less than 100% means poorer performance than standard. Okay, so standard performance rate as 100%, slower pace, the value must below than 100%. If a faster pace, the value of the performance rating is more than 100%. And the last procedure, the fifth step is apply allowance factor to compute the standard time. Yeah. So to obtain the standard time for the task, a personal fatigue delay allowance is added to the normal times as calculated in the following equation. Yeah. Which APFD stands for allowance factor for personal time, fatigue, and delays. This is often expressed as a percentage but used as a decimal fraction in our equation. Okay. So the function of the allowance factor is to inflate the value of the standard time relative to the normal time in order to account for the very reason why the operator loses time during the work shift. The allowance factor represents an average for the type of work, equipment, and condition under which the operator works. So using the allowance, we are able to get the standard time of the task. So that's all for the 5 procedure in developing the standard time. So see you in the next sessions. Thank you.